Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the pregame show. I am your host, Trellis Williams, right here on 97.7 FM and also on the TSJW Network YouTube channel. We appreciate you joining us here today. We got a lot to talk about, some stuff going on in the state in terms of high school basketball, but we've got a special guest here today, head coach of the Lanier High School Bulldogs, head coach Lawrence Clark. He's done a great job with this Bulldogs team. They've started this season off 20-4, even with a win here tonight in which they defeated Macomb by a good margin. So today, joining us is Coach Clark, and I want to go ahead and bring him on right now. Coach, we appreciate you joining us right here on the pregame show.
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Absolutely. So, Coach, this year, obviously, you guys have done very well. Already gotten your 20th win, and you're still in January. Coach, just talk about preparation with this team, because you guys came off a 13-16 season last year. So, obviously, taking steps this year. Talk about that from start to finish, starting with the summer.
Well, the summer, we had a pretty good summer. We played some decent ball clubs this summer, and we were pretty successful. And I think it kind of gave us a little glimpse of what this team could be. However, we did lose two key pieces. We lost Austin Richards to J.A. He was big for us because he started every game for us last year as a freshman. And we really had high hopes for him. And we lost another kid, Christopher Madison, to Jim Hill. And both of those guys were going to play a key role in what we were doing. But we, in the process, we did not play two guys that are in our rotation, Corey Yante Smith and Darryl Roberts, because he's the quarterback on the football team. So even with those two guys being gone and us losing two guys, we had a good glimpse this summer of what this team could possibly achieve. And so we had high hopes coming into the season.
Definitely, and that's a really good thing, even being able to lose a couple guys and being able to take that hit and actually make a big improvement from last year. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well. And you mentioned one of your players as the quarterback for the football team, and you guys really have it going on there at Lanier in terms of the sports. I mean, the football team was very good this year as well. And so I just kind of want to talk about the culture there at Lanier. Obviously, you got a pretty good winning culture in terms of y'all's sports, but obviously with the basketball with the 20-4 record. How do you build that culture, Coach?
We got good coaches, but I also want to say our administration has been extremely supportive. We had Dr. Bradley. She did a lot to set everything in place, and she retired last year, and Dr. Bailey has come in and taken her place. And Dr. Bailey was a former coach. Dr. Bradley was a former coach. So I think when you have principals who played sports, they have a good understanding of what it takes to build programs, and they give you what you need to be successful. So I got to say we've got good coaches, but we have a good administration, and our teachers are excellent too in supporting us and giving us what we need and helping us do what we need to do for the kids.
So, Coach, I want to go into your background. So this is your 7th season coaching at Lanier. Just talk about your journey and how you became the head coach at Lanier, what led up to that, how you got that job, and just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Oh, well, I did several seasons in middle school. I did, I think, 4 seasons at Chastain Middle School. I did 4 seasons at Sidewell Middle School. And I got lucky. I had a childhood friend, Timothy Speech, who was coaching at Murrah at the time, and he was losing an assistant coach. And he said he needed some help. And I went over and I helped him for the summer. And, man, it was just addictive. It was just, it was just a rush to my system because the middle school season ends early December. And when I went over and I helped him, and it was the summer league and it was the summer practices, and it was pretty much year round. I was like, man, this is what I have to do. So I applied for the job at Lanier. The first time I didn't get it, but the second time I did. And so that's pretty much been my journey. I did a lot of seasons in the middle school, but when he allowed me to help him, man, it was just addictive. So that's kind of how I ended up where I am.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to this season's team. So looking through you guys' scores throughout this season, they range in the amount of points that you score. You have a game where you win 92-91. You also have a game where you win like 55-44. So you're talking about very different games in
Yeah.
those kind of situations. But being able to win in a high-scoring game and a low-scoring game is very important. So just kind of talk about how you've been coaching these guys to win basketball games when they're close, because that's really important if you want to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, when you look at the talent that we have, you'll think that we will be winning a lot of games by 20 or 30 points. But for whatever reason, we still have a young team, even though we've made a great improvement. Most of my guys are still 10th and 11th grade, so they're still growing. But with that being said, they kind of play to the level of their competition some nights. And the only thing I can think of is just that, we win in close games, and it's going to help us in the playoffs. But the 92-91 game, our center was out, so we had to play small ball that night. And it was just a 3 overtime game. The kids just didn't get tired. They kept battling. So I like to think as a coach, we can do it either way. If you want to run and gun, we can do that. We can get up and down the floor and play that game. If you want to make it a half court game, we can play that style too. So a lot of times it just depends on, what the other teams do and how they play us too.
Yeah, so in the last 7 seasons you've been coaching there at Lanier, talk about any changes that you've seen. What are some changes that you've seen, and kind of how you've had to adjust to those changes as a coach, if any?
Well, it really hasn't been any changes. Like I said, I've been fortunate enough to have great principals, man, and I don't want to underestimate that fact
Yeah,
because I think anybody knows if you go to work and your boss is not good, it's just not a good job. And
yeah.
so I've been fortunate enough to have great principals, man, and I really have not had to endure a lot of changes. The biggest change that we've had to endure is that they combined Brinkley Middle School with the high school. And so since we only have one gymnasium, we have to share time with the middle school kids as far as practice and stuff like that. But I really haven't had to go through an overhaul. I really hadn't had to go through a lot of changes. Everything has been an even flow since I've got there, and that's been good. And again, it's a testament to our principles and our leadership.
Absolutely. Also, I didn't know if there was any shift. I just kind of wanted to ask you this: was there any kind of adjustment or any kind of shift that you guys experienced with the changes? You were talking about a middle school and high school combination, but what about when Wingfield kind of went away, and some of their students went into some other schools there? Did y'all have any effect from that? I just wanted to ask you that.
Well, Lanier really didn't. We really didn't have an effect because again, we pretty much know our area. We pretty much know our district or whatever, however you want to put it. And a
Yeah.
lot of the kids that were at Wingfield, I think they ended up going to Jim Hill or Forest Hill. So it really didn't affect us at all. It affected us as far as district play because, of course, you go from 5 teams to 4. So we had some gaps in the season after December, but it really wasn't any effect from Wingfield closing.
Okay, and so wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about the district that you guys are in there in 4A. Obviously, you're in the same one as Raymond, and Raymond's always a
Yes.
tough team.
Yes.
And you guys have played them twice so far this season. You also are in there with Richland and then Macomb, who you're able to beat tonight. Just kind of talk about that. Being in a district like that, taking on a team like Raymond. Look, if you're able to get over the Raymond hump, you're pretty much able to get over anybody in 4A. So just kind of talk about that challenge there.
Yeah, like I tell people all the time, Tony Tadlock he's the king of 4A so far. What he's done down in Raymond to make it to the championship game 7 or 8 years in a row, I mean that's tough, and you got to understand
Yeah.
he's doing it with a new starting 5 almost every year. So my hat's off to Tony Tadlock, and it's always a good game when we play. We've had some close games where he's won. We've had some where I've won. But like you said, being in the district with him, that's a good measuring stick. No matter how it shapes up, because you're gonna get a good team that you're gonna play at least twice a year, maybe 3 times in the district championship. So being in the district with Tony Tadlock and those Raymond Rangers, it doesn't do anything but make us better. So we've enjoyed the competition and the pseudo rivalry, if you may want to call it that. But this district has been tough, and it's been good for us as a whole because when I first got here, every team had a star player. When I first got here, we were in there with Florence, and Florence had Jalen
Yeah.
Forbes, Trey Ford. I forgot who Tony Tadlock had down there. He had a couple of dandy dozens. I think Richland had Isaiah Patrick, who went on to go play at Jones. Macomb had several kids. So this district has been really tough. And when I took the job, one of the things that the principal told me was they said, look, man, If you can make it out of this district and get to the playoffs, the games will get a lot easier. And so far, that's been pretty true. So we enjoy the district, and like I said, having Raymond as a measuring stick is nothing but good for the boys, man. And it's good for me as well.
Yeah, and so having that team in your district is very big. But you also, as I've seen on you guys' schedule, you guys have packed out that nine district schedule as well. I mean, you play teams like Clinton. You end up losing to Clinton by 4. That's a real close game, though. You beat Brandon by 4. You go and well, yep. You beat Brandon by 4 there, and you play Ridgeland, losing by 2. You beat Terry
Oh,
by
that one
5.
hurt.
Yeah, I bet, because Ridgeland's having a great season, and so
Great
I'm sure
season.
you really wanted to beat them. But a 2-point game, you're talking about, you're able to play those kind of games against that kind of competition. Talk about loading that non-conference schedule, because that's really important to get you ready for the season there.
Yeah, since I've been there, and it's no offense to 1, 2, 3, or 4A team, but we've tried to always play 7A, 6A, 5A teams.
Yeah,
We'll play 4A and 3A, but we really don't look for cupcakes, and we want to take it on the chin. We want to know what we're made of as a coaching staff. We want to know what our kids are made of, and we don't mind losing a few ball games, because if you lose, at least you know where you stand. You know
yeah.
what you have to work on, and we just want the kids battle tested for the playoffs, because we know what's coming down the road. And again, we have to face Raymond. They're in our district, and nobody else can give us that competition outside of a 7A, 6A, or good 5A team. So we're not going to run from anybody. We try to play whoever will play us, and we want good competition. So we play up a lot. We play up a lot. Most of the time, we're playing up.
Yeah, and for anybody that's never seen your team play, just kind of explain your coaching philosophy, your basketball philosophy, how you guys play ball.
Well, if you saw us play this year, I think you're going to see us be real aggressive defensively. We're playing about 10 guys a night, so it's a lot of pressing, picking you a full court, and we're gonna push you down your throat. We're gonna run. We try to play an exciting brand of basketball.
Yep.
We don't want to come down and you just sitting on your hands and the people eating popcorn not wondering what's going on, are not excited. So we try to give the fans what they want, but we also are just playing a brand of basketball that suits us. The brand that we play, this style of basketball is what's best for our kids. We have a lot of guards. We have some big men that can play basketball, but what suits us and what's going to put us in a situation to win is us getting after you, playing tough defense, and just kind of running and gunning a little bit. But we pride ourselves on our defense. Don't get it twisted. We won those 20 games, but we play almost exceptional defense in most of those games. So I think that we're a better defensive team than we are offensive team. Some people were probably different from that because we have a Marjay Horton and we have a Xavier Banks, but I think that we're just a better defensive team than offensive team. But we can do it either way.
Yeah, and also if you're able to generate your offense off your defense, that is huge
All
for
the
your team.
time.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just wanted to ask you, so as you've kind of gone along this season, I was just looking at those games that you guys have played, and so after you find yourself taking a loss, you've had only a few of them. You're 20-4 on the season. How do you get your guys reset? Because you got that confidence going when you're winning, but when you take a loss, you want to get those guys back in the winning ways. So how do you get them back going?
Well, it just depends. The regional loss, the Clinton loss, let me say, it was early in the season. It hurt a little bit. That night I was extremely sick. I shouldn't have been coaching. So I'll take the blame for that. And I tell the kids all the time, and it's no, not to take anything away from Clinton because they're a good team, but I just didn't do a good job coaching that night. I wasn't feeling my best and I probably shouldn't have been there. So, the kids bounced back pretty good from that one. I think the Shoba, I was still in the hospital, so they were going through some changes. We had lost our center. He had broken his toe. So they were kind of adjusting to me not being in there and one of the starters not being there. I think the next game was the Ridgeland game. We were actually up by 2 with like 45 seconds left, and we put the ball in our best player's hands, and he just made a mistake. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it the same way, and they ended up beating us by 2. But that was a big loss for us because we knew that we kind of had the game. We just didn't execute down the stretch. And so that's what it was. The Raymond loss, I think the kids came in, maybe a little too much on that high horse because we had won, I think maybe 7 or 8 games in a row. We had kind of been on a little roll, and we had beat them the week before. And I told them that Raymond would come back and play them hard. And we just played our worst offensive game that night. And again, Raymond did a great job. Tony had them ready to play. They executed well, and we just didn't play well. So, when we took that loss last week, I just told the kids, I said, hey, man, listen, you know, it's not the end of the world. You lost 4 games. We didn't play well, but you got a choice. I try to equate everything to them with life and basketball. That life is going to knock you down, but you have a choice. You can either get back up and start it back over, dust yourself off and get back in the fight, or you can sit there and lay down there and just worry about what happened last week. But last week is over. So the kids bounced back pretty well. We got a Morton team that came in Monday that's pretty good in 4A. And we just wanted to kind of just, put our feet back up under us and see, if we can get back on that high horse and keep going again. So they did a good job of bouncing back, and I'm proud of them right now.
Yeah, so this is Coach Lawrence Clark, head coach of the Lanier High School Bulldogs. His team is 20-4 on the season. We'll come back with a couple of more questions for Coach Clark, but we'll go to break right now. We'll be right back. Okay. All right, folks, we are back. This is the pregame show. I am your host, Trellis Williams, and we are back with head coach of the Lanier Bulldogs, 20-4 Lanier Bulldogs, Coach Lawrence Clark. And, Coach, according to Max Preps, you guys are 15th ranked in the state of Mississippi. Guys have done very well. You want to do well here in the playoffs, but we've talked about these teams that you guys have been able to play against and been able to do well against. Also, I want to ask, I always say that with you guys that coach in the public schools, that is real deal coaching, because you can't do the recruiting that the private schools can do. I mean, you're just talking about how one of your players went to JA. Well, that's a recruiting thing. Can't do that there at the public schools. That is a pure coaching job. So talk about that, Coach, because you just get the players in and you coach them up and you try to win with the guys that you have. Talk about that, because it's got to be a fun thing to take on every year.
Yeah, it's we've been fortunate enough to get some good players. I know a lot of good coaches who just don't. They're not able to get the kids, or they just don't have the kids, and it's a bad thing that we judge coaches on wins and losses, but I've been blessed, and I have to thank God for allowing me to have the kids that I've had and the team that I have this year. Is just a blessing. So I don't want to underestimate that like it's all me. But I have some good kids. My kids go to class. I don't really have behavior issues with them. They've conformed to what we want to do. So yeah, I've been lucky to have some kids and getting the kids in. And as far as like you're saying, the recruiting thing, the public school and the private school, we know it happens. But right now, like I tell the kids all the time, I tell my coaching staff, whatever you see that is happening in the NBA or the pros, it filters down to college, and then the next thing you know, it's in the high school ranks. So, with NIL and all that stuff and super teams in the NBA, man, listen, you just got to keep your kids and try to do the best that you can. And the one thing about it, we know that there's a good possibility we probably won't have all our kids. You just got to make the run that you can make with the kids that you have and just hope that they stay. It's just the reality of it. There's nothing that we can do about it right now.
For sure. And last question for you, Coach, and we really appreciate you joining us right here on the pregame show. But my last question is that moving forward for the rest of the season, what is your biggest goal for your guys? Because in basketball, things happen in basketball, so it's hard to pin everything on the results. But you do want to see certain things from your team, and you obviously want to win. So just kind of talk about what that goal would be.
Well, even though we were 13 and 15 and 16 last year, the last 2 years, we've made it to the quarterfinals to Pearl River. And the crazy part about it is a lot of the guys that are playing now were ninth grade 2 years ago. And we know as a coaching staff, we pride ourselves on getting those kids to that point. We lost the last 2 years to teams that were in our district that we had beaten twice. So I guess for this year, we just want to make it past the Pearl River round. Now, we're not going to be satisfied with just getting to the Coliseum. We're not going to go down and just say, oh, well, we're here. We want to win the whole thing. I think, I told another reporter last week, any coach that's coaching right now will want to host that gold ball at the end of the year. So that's the ultimate goal. So our first goal is to win the whole thing. But for me, we've been snake bitten over that Pearl River. We just want to get out. And again, hopefully we won't lose against a team that we've beaten 2 or 3 times in our district already. So that's the major thing for us, just to see some growth. Let's get past this quarterfinal round and see what happens.
For sure, Coach. And I mean, you guys have done very well this year, and you guys have a very good shot. You've beaten, you've split it with Raymond so far this year, and they've been a gatekeeper there in that 4A classification. But you guys have done very well so far this year. We really appreciate you joining us right here on the pregame show.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I listen anytime. I love to talk basketball, so anytime you have an opening, man, call me. I listen. I'm enjoying myself.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Will do. Appreciate you joining us, Coach Clark. And, folks, we appreciate you joining us. We will step aside and be right back to discuss some more scores and stories from around the state in terms of high school basketball. We'll step aside and be right back. This is the pregame show. All right, we are back. This is the pregame show. I am your host, Trellis Williams, and we really appreciate head coach of the Lanier High School Bulldogs, Lawrence Clark, for joining us here on the show. He is in his 7th season as head coach there at Lanier. They're 20-4 so far this season, with a most recent win over Macomb. They are in the same district as Raymond. Raymond a little bit ahead of them right now, but they've actually split the games in district play. They've got a legitimate shot at that 4A state title, and we will keep up with that journey there for Lanier. But definitely appreciate Coach Clark joining us right here on the show. So we have some scores that we're going to go through from this last week around the state in high school basketball here in the state of Mississippi. We appreciate you joining us. So on Monday, January 20th, we saw MRA and DeSoto Central. Wow, what a game. 2 top 25 teams taking each other on. MRA getting the win at home, 57-48. I do not believe it was at home. I do think that this was the Rumble of the South there at Mississippi College, a 57-48 win for the MRA Patriots. Tri-County Academy took on Hillcrest Christian. Tri-County getting the win, 55-52. That was also a Rumble of the South ball game. Macomb taking on Forest Hill. Forest Hill getting that win, 49-31, an 18-point win for the Patriots. Laurel taking on Bay Springs. Laurel getting the win, 70-62. Then Olive Branch High School taking on Canton. Now, this was one very close ball game. Olive Branch, the number 12th team in the state, getting the win over Canton, 64-61. And then we look at a Biloxi and Ridgeland matchup. Now, this is a matchup of 2 top 25 teams. Biloxi at number 23, Ridgeland at number 3, Ridgeland winning 54-45. And then we look again here. We got Madison Central taking on South Jones. Now, these two teams taking each other on. South Jones led by Ashton McGee, who's been a very good player for that ball club. South Jones wins 68-51, a 17-point win for South Jones over Madison Central. Now, that's something else. South Jones, a top 10 team in the state. They had a big addition in McGee, but South Jones getting the win by 17 points, 68-51. And then we see Jim Hill take on Edwards, 48-42. Very low scoring ball game, but the Tigers get the win over Edwards High School, 48-42. Then we saw a big one here, Pascagoula and Germantown. This was a Rumble of the South ball game on Monday night. Pascagoula, the 14th ranked team in the state 6A ball club. Germantown, of course, 7A. A win for Pascagoula, 74-69. A very good ball game, a 5-point win for Pascagoula. Then we see Northwest Rankin taking on the number 25 team in the state, the Raymond Rangers. The Rangers get the win, 43-40. A low-scoring ball game, but Raymond comes away the victors, 43-40. Then we have PCS taking on Jackson Academy. Jackson Academy able to handle PCS at home, 57-39, an 18-point win there. Then we see Leake Central take on West Lauderdale. Now, this is a surprise. Leake Central was ranked 19th in the state. They fall to West Lauderdale by 20 points, 86-66. And then we go down a little bit further here on Monday. A lot of games. We had Lanier High School, the Bulldogs taking on Morton. Talked a little bit to Coach Clark about this ball game. Lanier wins 55-44, an 11-point win for the Lanier Bulldogs. That was Monday. Now moving to Tuesday, DeSoto Central taken back to the court to take on Lewisburg. They destroy Lewisburg 68-32, winning by 36 points. And then now we see a ball game here between Briarfield Academy and Union Christian. Briarfield winning 69-18. Wow, by a big margin there. Canton beating Greenville 69-35. And then we had Pisgah against Puckett. Now, these are two teams that are kind of a rivalry type situation. They're small schools, but they're right in the same area. Puckett getting the win 68-43 by 25 points. Coffeyville beating Blue Mountain by 43, 76-33. And those are mostly the games that we saw there on Tuesday. We saw Horn Lake take on Hernando, 87-44 win for Horn Lake. We saw MRA take on Jackson Prep, a very close ball game, but the Patriots, Jackson Prep Patriots, win the ball game by 7, 50-43. We're seeing in that district there for 6A and MAIS, seeing a lot of competitive ball games. We're going to talk about that a little bit more as we go through these different scores here. So now we look at Thursday. Ridgeland taking on Neshoba Central, Ridgeland ruling and schooling. 79-46 win over Neshoba. And then we go down a little bit further here. Thursday night, we see Olive Branch, number 12 in the state, take on Boonville. Boonville winning by 22, 60-38. Then we see Provine take on Brookhaven. Brookhaven winning easily, 62-36. And then we see St. Joseph Catholic, number 20 in the state, taking on Jackson Prep. St. Joe's started off the season 17-1. They take on Jackson Prep. The Patriots win by 19, 56-37. This is a Thursday night ball game. And now looking at Friday night. Seeing some scores coming in, not too many yet, but we see Oak Forest Academy winning over Park Lane Academy, 61-36, winning by 25 points. They take them down. Raymond taking on Ridgeland, top 25 team in the state. The Rangers win by 25, 60-35 over the Richland Rangers, actually. Richland, the same name as Raymond. Coffeyville beating Strayhorn 74-9. Wow. That is a big difference in score there. Then we see Horn Lake taking on DeSoto Central here. A win for Horn Lake, the 16th ranked team in the state over DeSoto Central by 5 points, 61-56. We see Ridgeland take on Warren Central. Warren Central makes this one a ball game. But Ridgeland wins those 74-61 here tonight, or Friday night rather. We were recording this on Friday night. We see a top 5 team in the state in Starkville taking on Clinton. Second meeting between the two teams. Starkville won the first time. They win this time as well. On the road at Clinton, 53-35, an 18-point win there. South Jones back at it again, taking on Florence at home. They win by a landslide, 65-32, a 33-point win over the Florence Eagles. Also, we're going to see some more scores coming in. Don't have those yet from Hartfield and Jackson Academy. Games like that. Games that you're going to see, big games there. And I think I'll look at that right now, looking at Jackson Academy taking on the Hartfield Academy Hawks. Now, Hartfield has won a couple of big games. They beat MRA. I do believe they were able to get a win there over Jackson Prep as well. Hartfield has done well so far this season. Surprising some people. I mean, people expect Hartfield to be pretty good, but being able to get over the hump against some of the teams that they have been able to get over the hump against. Pleasant surprise to Hartfield Academy Hawk fans. And looking here, unable to really see anything here on who is winning. Yeah, we don't have any results for that, but we will have that next week right here on the pregame show. We really appreciate you joining us. I'm Trellis Williams, your host. I do want to remind you to please be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you're joining us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button to the YouTube channel. I also want to remind you that if you have an inside scoop a little bit with some high school sports that aren't getting the notoriety that you feel that they might have earned based on performance, please be sure to hit me up in an email. TSJW Network at gmail.com is where you can send me an email. TSJW Network at gmail.com. We are open for inquiries on coverage. Folks, we appreciate you joining us. This is the pregame show. Remember, our shows air on the radio, 97.7 FM, the beat of the Capital on WRBJ. And we appreciate you all for joining us, as well as these are up on YouTube at Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. But until next week, I am Trellis Williams. This is the pregame show. We out.